Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be giving you guys a recap of day 2 of the Washington Commanders minicamp. I'll show you guys some practice highlights, including some clips of Chase Young doing some side work. Also be going over some of the big plays that happen and give you guys an injury update. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 8,000 subscribers. So please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications. So let's start off with the practice clips. Nothing major, just some Gibson highlights, Wentz, and some of the receivers and D linemen. So let's get into that. Okay, so here we have the D-line doing some drills, and you got Montez Sweat going up right now, and you have Warren Sapp right there in the back, so, pretty cool right there, and you got James Smith-Williams going next, and then the rest of the guys. Here's Antonio Gibson doing a running back drill. Here you got Carson Wentz dumping it off to Antonio Gibson. And here you got De'Ami Brown and Cam Sims running a route and making a catch. Okay, so we got some Chase Young footage. Nothing crazy right here, just pulling the sled sideways, getting some work on those knees. I think earlier in the offseason, he was actually running forward with a bunch of weight on the back, but this is just getting some work on its knees. Nothing major, but just some Chase Young footage for you guys. Okay, so let's first start out with an injury update, and unfortunately, not a great one. So Charles Leno wasn't there. A couple other guys weren't there because of illness. Phidarian Mathis, Cornelius Lucas, but Curtis Samuel was on the side field again, and it's just really frustrating at this point. I don't believe there was a update after practice, so who knows what went on. He was out last week because he felt some soreness, some tightness, and then, Rivera said he expects him to be back for minicamp, and yesterday he looked good. The people who were there said he was running fine. I showed you guys a couple of videos yesterday. He looked totally fine. Nothing happened during practice, so maybe it's just a day off. Maybe it is another day where he's feeling a little soreness. Hopefully it's the first part where, he's just getting a day off, but not good news at all that he's back on the side field. This shouldn't be an issue more than a year out from the injury, and we're still, there's still an issue with this injury. So hopefully, he's able to fully heal it during training camp, or hopefully this soreness that he's feeling has nothing to do with the groin, and hopefully it's just something else. But it's just unfortunate that he can't fully stay healthy, but it could be nothing. It could be nothing. But I got to see him on the field first before I actually, get my hopes up. And, we talked about it. Phidarian Mathis, Cornelius Lucas had an illness, and Charles Leno got hurt last minicamp practice yesterday, and shouldn't be a big deal. Nothing was reported on it. He'll probably be fine for training camp. I don't think it's a big injury at all. And then so updates on Terry McLaurin. So Rivera said that Terry McLaurin is subject to fines for missing minicamp, but he remains optimistic that a deal gets done, so the negotiations are not contentious. And the way I watched the press conference, and he seemed very optimistic that a deal would get done. We know Rivera always doesn't always say the truth, or he's sometimes wrong, but it really seemed like he was confident. And the word he said wasn't fines. He said he's subject to the rules. So, he probably meaning fines, but just a less aggressive way of saying it. And I think there was a question asked about him being traded, and he said, we're not trading Terry McLaurin. So there you have it on the Terry McLaurin update. And then I thought this, before we get into the big plays from today and some of the recap, I thought this quote from Heineke was really good. So this from John Keim, he said, Taylor Heineke was asked if he could change people's minds about the starting QB job. He said, I don't think that's an option. You're paying someone $30 million and someone else $2 million. You're paying this guy $30 million to play. I hope one succeeds. My job is to back him up. So before minicamp started, or after we got Wentz, I was kind of thinking maybe Heineke would try to compete for that starting job. Not that I think he would get it, but in Heineke's mind, that's what I thought he would think, that he would try to compete for the job. But I guess he doesn't feel that way. He might feel like he's close to Carson Wentz, but he's a smart guy. He obviously knows that they're paying Wentz $30 million and him a little over $2 million, so it doesn't make sense. And we all know Wentz is the better quarterback, so that makes sense. But I really like this quote by Heineke. I like the mindset that he has, and I like that he's self-aware and he knows the situation. He's still going to compete. He's still going to, try to be the best backup that he can be, because who knows, with Wentz, he's had injury issues, and this franchise as a whole, like the quarterbacks have, a lot of injuries the last 20 years. So he definitely could come in for a few games, and he's a perfect backup. He is the perfect backup. He knows the system really well. The players around him really, really like him, and I mean, he can play well for a few games, for a stretch. So, if you need him to play for a few games, he definitely can. So love this quote by Taylor Heineke. So AGG's been looking good. I think the other day he had a really nice catch, and then today had another one. Pete Haley said, AGG has a long way to go, and the tight end room is really jumbled up, but I've noticed him pop more at this position than I really ever did at receiver. Promising start to the experiment. And Rivera in his press conference, I think he talked about it, like AGG came in at 238. He was pretty big, and he's at like 232. So he's at a solid weight right there. Could be a little bit bigger, but I think that's fine. And he's never going to be like a true tight end. He's going to be like a little bit of a hybrid, or at least for now, he'll probably be more of like a hybrid between a receiver and a tight end, because it's going to be hard to gain all that weight. And he probably plays better at that 230 to 235 range anyway. So we'll see what happens. But we've heard some good things about AGG. And, if Logan Thomas starts the year on IR, or, once they make the roster and then they put him on IR or PUP, then, AGG could make the roster. Same thing with Sammis Reyes, Curtis Hodges, and Armani Rogers, I believe. All those guys will be competing for a tight end spot. Like Cole Turner and John Bates are going to make the roster. Same thing with Logan Thomas. So they could keep 4 anyways. But if Logan Thomas isn't initially on the 53, during week 1, they're going to have another one. Could be AGG, could be Sammis Reyes, could be one of these other guys. I think almost all those guys would clear waivers if they wanted to put them on the practice squad. So that could be a situation. And if you put a player on IR before you set your 53-man roster, then he's out for the season. So Logan Thomas will make the initial, even if he's not healthy, he's going to miss the first 4 or 5 games of the season. He's going to make the initial roster, but then after that, they would put him on IR, and that would open up a spot so they could call someone up from the practice squad like AGG or one of those other guys. So that is definitely something to monitor, but good to hear AGG has looked good, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the preseason, because, really did not see any splashes from AGG in his time in the NFL. He had that one play against the Browns where he ran for 25, 30 yards, and a couple plays in the preseason, but that is it. So real quick, let's kind of go through, some big plays or, takeaways from today. So Sadiq Charles was playing at left tackle with Leno and Lucas, not there, and then Wentz was picked off by Cole Holcomb, though Holcomb dropped it as he started running back. So, Holcomb, he's hoping to have a big year. Let's hope he does. Right now, it's looking like he's going to be our middle linebacker when we do have a middle linebacker on the field, because sometimes it'll just be 2 linebackers. Jamin Davis is with the second team in red zone drills, and he just fell down badly when trying to contain Heineke on the run. Instead of David Mayo ahead of him, it's been Khaleke Hudson so far. So I don't know. It's not really great to hear that he's on the second team, just considering the linebackers that are around him besides Cole Holcomb, like David Mayo and Khaleke Hudson. I like Khaleke Hudson a little bit, but there's no reason Jamin Davis should be behind him. The only reason, the only thing I could say here, a little bit of an excuse for Jamin, like Rivera says all the time, he wants to get the backups in with the first team sometimes, just so that if they do have to go in there and start, they've been with these guys who are the starters around him. So maybe that's the case. I think that's probably the case here, but still, you don't see Cole Holcomb going in the second team, or at least that's not what we heard. So I don't know. Reports have been saying Jamin Davis has been a little bit better, but nothing crazy. So hopefully he's able to improve over this offseason, because we're going to need him. Because if he isn't great, our linebacking core already isn't good, but if he's bad, then our linebacking core is going to be really, really bad besides Cole Holcomb. And then he talked about some splash plays. Percy Butler made a fantastic read to pick off Heineke in the back of the end zone. Not a bad throw either, just read it perfectly. So that's great to hear. Like some people were saying it was taking Percy Butler a little longer to adjust, but that's because he had to, learn a lot of different plays because he has a lot of different roles potentially on this defense. So good to hear. Good to hear he made a great play, showing off his instincts there, making the pick. And then Antonio Gandy-Golden had a sick catch in the corner of the end zone, used size really, really well. So great to hear that. Markin Michel, who is Sony Michel's brother, like I've been hearing some really good things about him. Heineke aired it out to him, but Troy Apke, the man of the people, he broke it up. So there we go right there. The defense has been in the backfield a lot, but again, they can't sack the QB. And then he said AGG just had a really nice catch. We talked about that. Same thing with Percy Butler right here. And with 4 seconds on the clock, once his pass to Dotson falls incomplete, Benjamin St-Juste was defending. We've heard some good things about Benjamin St-Juste, so I'm just really hoping he can stay healthy. And then Heineke threw a bomb to Markin Michel, and who had to step on Corn Elder, and he hauled in the pass. So Michel could be a sleeper, definitely a practice squad candidate, and he had another really nice catch. So that's good to hear right there. And then I forgot to go down here, but he said this might be Carson Wentz's most uneven day of OTAs. It's not that and this is minicamp, but including OTAs, I guess that's what he's saying. It's not that he's been bad, just some throws are all over the place, including some very impressive ones. And that's kind of what we thought we would get in the Carson Wentz experience. But, we'll see. Hopefully we get more good than bad from Carson Wentz, and we don't get, hopefully we get more of the middle ground instead of, both ends of the spectrum, because that can really hurt you down the stretch at the end of the game. So that is kind of it for today's recap. Nothing major, again, kind of a light practice. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.